10:01 or 2 or something. Should I just start now, or do you want to,
Yep.
do you need to talk about business, office business or something first, or
No, I
let's get
will. I
going?
will go ahead and allow you to introduce yourself. Bob,
Okay.
I think you do that better than I will. But I'm just very excited to have you here. Thanks to the agents who are on here live. I was telling people be here live because you're probably going to have a lot of questions. So thanks to those that came on here live today. But yes, this will be recorded. So if you missed something got complicated today that you didn't understand, you can always replay it and watch it again. But take it away, Mr. Bob Brandt.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon or good evening, whenever you're watching this. Glad to be here. And I had mentioned before we started the recording that I've been doing seminars for Phil Jones Company and companies in down through history for, it's got to be between 25 and 30 years. So glad to be back. I am brought to you by 4 different companies. Well, 2 are kind of the same company, but different divisions. American Home Shield, both home warranty and NHD, natural hazard disclosure reports. I'm not sure if James is in the room. If he's not, I'll do a little pitch for him. They do mold remediation, and they do it quicker, better, and with the goal of keeping everything in escrow. They do it very, very nicely. And then Michael's here with the Elite Group. So we'll get back to them in just a few minutes, because I know a lot of agents come in as we go along. And so my sponsors always have to suffer with me through the first little bit of this. And if you're in the room, and I'm not sure, Nicholas, if you can mute people when they come in or not, that'd be great. I will get some seminar notes. I'll send them to Nicholas, and I guess they'll get out to everybody. Here's a screenshot of everybody. I always like to do this, get a kick out of it. And then a lot of you know, this is kind of like me if I was a singer appearing with Elvis Presley or something back in the day. Gov Hutchison is the absolute authority on this topic with CAR. And when there's not a pandemic, most Decembers, he and I together, I'm kind of his warm-up act, but he and I together, really big crowd, usually 500 or 600 agents, and we do it in a public venue up in Sacramento. I think we'll be skipping this year though. Big percentage on this topic, not all, but very close to all lawsuits against residential agents, only in California, no other state, just here, are about what we're talking about here right now, or will in the next hour. It's physical condition disclosure. There's other lawsuits, but there are attorneys that specialize in real estate that have their entire career have only done disclosure lawsuits, because that's just about all they see, because almost all of them are. So we'll talk about that. Let me do a little bit of content for a few minutes. We'll hear from our sponsors on the visual inspection, assuming that everybody here in the room or listening later uses the AVID when you do your limited visual inspection. The AVID is not a mandatory form by law. However, it is used so prolifically and has been for quite a while, several years now. It's essentially in the court system developed into the standard of care. It's still optional, but it's really good that you use it. It does really assist with the visual inspection. But the marching orders on how to do it come from the statutory form, and that's the Transfer Disclosure Statement, the TDS, or the tedious form, if you want to call it that. And it says there, visual inspection. So a question kind of begs the question, does that mean the only things that you should be jotting down on the AVID? And when I mention the AVID, I'll just say this once, so I have to say it every time. Whether you're using the actual form, it's on your laptop, on your phone, however you have it, does that mean the only things that you should actually jot down in terms of disclosure are things that you can actually look at, visually look at? And the answer to that is no. And that's because over the years in the California court system, that expression has definitively modified, even though the words have stayed the same, to actually mean any sensory perception. It makes no difference how you notice something. The issue is whether or not the buyers are going to notice it. They're the ones that do the suing on this topic, whether or not they're going to notice it, and whether or not they were told about it in advance. If they were told about it in advance, there shouldn't be any litigation. It's just buyers that are caught off guard. They had no idea there was this big crack or this stain or something else going on at the property. So just two quick examples. Let's say in both of these, you're representing the buyers, although it could be either side. You go to the property probably by yourself, especially with the COVID thing, and probably with much more limited amount of time than you used to have. But you're upstairs, up and down the hallway, bedrooms, bathroom, making disclosures if you see anything. And as you traverse the hallway, you get the impression that it's a little bit uneven, not a lot, barely, but you've noticed it a couple of times. You're done with upstairs. You're about to go back downstairs. Before you do, you look down the hallway and say, I really can't see anything unusual here, but you have noticed it. It's a sensory sense of balance or something. So you would disclose it, even though you can't see it. Upstairs hallway floor appears to have some unevenness or something like that. Another example, you go to the property, you open the door and front door, and there's a very strong smell or odor in the home. You might know that the sellers have 3 or 4 dogs living in the house, or 18 cats or whatever, and it kind of smells like dogs or cats or whatever. Or there's a kind of like a musty smell. Well, there's a temptation, let's say it's musty, there's a temptation to actually kind of identify it like, well, excuse me, let me back up here, like musty odor or something. But the term musty is an adjective, so we don't want to use it. And in fact, no adjectives at all in disclosure, lots of them in advertising. We may need to make a clear distinction between advertising and disclosure. Advertising, unfettered, beautiful, wonderful, luxurious, amazing, incredible, all day long, with essentially no litigation. In disclosure, big, small, major, minor, fair, poor, long, short, colors, numbers, just no adjectives. So musty is kind of like mildew, and mildew is kind of like mold. And we don't want to write that down because we're not a mold expert and don't want to take on the liability of a mold expert. So you would disclose a strong smell in the home. But the question, all right, well, what do you write down? There's all these things you shouldn't write down. Something I have in the notes that you might like, or come up with something better. I like terms or expressions like obvious odor noted, apparent odor noted, noticeable. You're calling attention to it, but you're not setting yourself up for a fall later in litigation. By the way, as I buzz through this, if you have any questions at all, if you could put them in the chat box or chat room, whatever it's called. And also my sponsors usually put their contact information there as well that you can look at. So the only two things that should actually be on a Avid in terms, besides the address or whatever of the place and the date, everything's got to be, every entry needs to be a defect or a red flag, and nothing more than those two categories. So defects really easy, like where I'm sitting right here. Good. But by the way, just, Nicholas, I do get background. I hear people on the phone. I've heard dogs barking and other things. So
you know what? I totally spaced.
We gotta get that muted. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Defect or red flag. Defect, where I'm sitting here doing this, to my left, there's a window. So if this was a property I was doing a visual inspection on, cracked window, broken window, that's all I would say. I wouldn't talk about the Frisbee that hit it or the baseball or, the burglary or whatever happened. It's just a broken window. That's all. And I'm done with that disclosure. Red flag, it's more of a temptation to kind of try to figure out what happened or whatever. So looking at that photo that you actually see on the screen there, let's say that stain was smaller, and you look up and you think, well, that looks like a small water stain. It probably is, but that's not a good disclosure. We don't want to say small. There's no upside for you to say that. There's lots of downsides. You think downsides on small. I've seen the word small or medium or large discussed actually up to 3 hours straight in court. Don't say it, there's no discussion. And also stains can occur from lots of things other than water. So all you got to do is stain noted, discoloration, and you are completely done with that. If the buyers read it, which hopefully they will, and they wonder, they can pursue it, and that's a different topic, but not in disclosure. It's just stain noted, spot discoloration. Two challenges, and there's lots of them. For time's sake, I'll just do two. You're in the living room, you can't find anything to say about it. It looks great, which, by the way, is a good thing. It's not bad news. You know, usually when there's a lawsuit, when you leave the property, you're thinking, gosh, what a dump. This place is litigation waiting to happen. So you can't find anything at all. That's actually a good thing. But I have nothing to say, so I don't want to leave it blank, like maybe I didn't even show up to the room, or maybe there isn't a living room in the house. Not all homes have them. But I noticed a ceiling fan, so I think, oh, good, I'll write that down. Well, a ceiling fan isn't a defect or a red flag, so it doesn't belong on the form. What it is inventory. So since I started mentioning inventory in this room, to be consistent, I need to mention it in every room. And now I have an addendum I have to tack onto the Avid with a list of all the stuff they have in the house. Don't want to do that. One more challenge of many, spider web challenge, literally or figuratively. There's no ceiling fan, everything looks great. So I lower the bar down to something beneath a material issue. Material disclosure issues are things that affect the value or the desirability of the property. And I end up writing down, there's a scuff mark at the baseboard by the door. Nobody cares about it. It doesn't. If the home is going for $1.2 million, a scuff mark does not affect the value of that home. It doesn't belong on the Avid. So what do you write down when you can't find anything to say, which again is good news? Well, make sure you always go with office policy. But what I suggest is nothing noted. Make sure it's there. Make sure, you know, Phil's okay with it and everything. But I've been talking about this in his office there for a long time. That's just basically saying, hey, there is a living room. Not all homes have them. I was there. I did look around. I didn't see anything really worthy of disclosure. That really takes care of that. So defects and red flags only. Just a really quick little technique, and then we'll hear from our sponsors. And I know they have busy days, so they got to get going probably. Here's how to take a rough draft disclosure and very quickly turn it into a final disclosure in just a few seconds. And it's a free thing. There's no upsell here for you. So you're in the, you know, if you see a broken window again, you know, that's a cracked window, and you're done. But now I'm in the kitchen. I'm looking at these stains on the wall and thinking, well, what am I going to do about this? Well, you know, I don't have a lot of time to think about it or to come up with a disclosure, especially with the whole COVID thing. I've only got so much time in the property. The sellers are like on their way home. I have to get out of there. And so I don't have a lot of time. So it's a really low-tech technique, strategy. You might be using a pen and a piece of paper. Actually, let me get a really expensive pen up here to make it look better. I just got this as a gift. It's just beautiful. I'm going to try to sell it on eBay. Anyway, so I write down whatever I want to write down. This is not a final disclosure. 2 small black mold stains noted. That's kind of what it looks like to me. And I just take that piece of paper, fold it up, put it in my pocket, briefcase, whatever, and go about my business. Eventually, I'm away from the property. And when I am, I take in my office, my car. If you're in your car, please pull over first. I've got to cover my liability on that. But anyway, start to cross out every word you can such that it still makes sense in the English language. I don't have to say any numbers, small, no colors, definitely never want to write the word mold down. All I got left over, stains noted. Then I get out my Avid or on my laptop again or whatever, write that down. I am completely finished with that disclosure. And it's just a very simple way of getting rid of adjectives kind of in advance, so to speak. So our sponsors, let me start with Michael. I think he can probably unmute himself. So I'll just give a plug for Elite. Elite is by far, no comparison, the largest home inspection company in all of North America. A large home inspection company, and I used to be in that business 35 years ago, has like, 4 or 5 or 6 inspectors, and Elite's got 3,000. No, not that many. It's got somewhere between 65 plus, give or take. But anyway, they're huge. They do an incredible job. So go for it, Michael.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Brand. Thank you, Nicholas, for the kind words earlier. And I appreciate you guys very much and the business you give us. And yes, we're at 65 inspectors, but we are hiring 9 trainees right now. And I got 4 going to hit the streets next week, and the other 5 are set to hit in another month. We're currently doing about 500 inspections a week right now, guys. And that means you can call the company, get on the board this week. We do the inspection, and you guys can have that inspection report in your hands within a few days. And that's unheard of, especially at this volume, guys. I mean, we've been doing this a long time. We know that time means everything to you guys. So our guys are very educated. We go through InterNACHI certifications, and you can look it up. By far, it is the best certification board there is out there. And when COVID hit, we went right into training on protecting ourselves and our clients and whatnot. So our guys are locked and loaded out there, guys. And we don't just do home inspections. We do termite inspections, mold inspections. We have a sewer line team. We do roof inspections. We do drone inspections, and we're proud to announce that we're doing roof certifications as well. So we got a lot going on here. We try to make us a one-stop shop as much as possible, but we want to make sure that all of our services are effective and benefit your clients. I'm inviting you guys to send me a text to 949-300-5932. Text me your email address, and I will email you guys out our new trifold brochure that shows everything that we do. They're brand new. And also, I'm going to be visiting the offices in a couple of weeks, so you guys will have some hard copies of those brochures as well. So please send me a text. My number's up there on the screen. I'm going to put it in the chat as well. Make me your personal inspection guy, because I can put it on the board for you. I can give you a price quote without you guys even calling the 800 number. I mean, I'm working from home a lot, and I'm working 10, 12-hour days. So I get a lot of questions at night. Buyers are calling me all day. So utilize me, guys. I'll be your personal assistant. All you have to do is text me the address. I'll look it up on the MLS. I'll give you a price quote and give you some available times. And all we need to do to book the inspection is to have your email address and your client's email address. We send you a link. You could see the inspection report through that link. It is a very easy process and a no-brainer, and we try to make it without any headaches out there, guys. You guys have enough hoops to jump through. We want to make this a streamlined process. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm going to put our company phone number in there as well, but utilize my text messages, guys, because I'm working all day from home and I can answer any questions without you even having to call the 800 number, guys. So one thing I want to tell you guys is that we're not regulated. Home inspectors are not licensed in California. I think it's very important to know. In fact, about 80% of them do not carry E&O insurance, guys. We carry a copy of our E&O insurance right there on the property, so you don't have to worry about anything. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I know you guys have a lot to get to, and I do appreciate my time here. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everybody on board, and appreciate your time. And hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. You mentioned a 10 to 12 hour workday. Somehow 12 hours has become the norm. I'm not sure how that happened. It's like every day now.
Okay.
With all the virtual stuff, it'll be easy, but it's not so easy. Anyway, thank you very much. I know that James is on because I just got a text message from him. He's on the phone calling in. As he unmutes himself, I'll just mention as an example, just very quickly, got to get through this quickly. Elite does an inspection. The inspector finds something that looks like it could be mold. James is a guy to call. The buyers are freaking out, and James is the one who calms them down. And they take a look at the issue, the area. They can do the mold removal, certify that it's been removed. They get into the disinfection stuff, which is huge with the virus. So James, go for it.
Outstanding. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much, Bob.
Yes.
My name is James Armendariz. I am with Green Home Solutions TrueEnviro. We are an indoor air quality company that does mold, odor, virus, bacteria remediation. So specifically for the mold, like Bob said, a home inspection company comes out and they do a mold assessment. They take mold samples. You yourself suspect there's mold. You need somebody to come out. We will come out for free, do a free moisture assessment, visual assessment, put together an estimate for you so you know what you need to keep the deal moving. And that's on the mold side, and we do that all day long. So let us know if you need any help there. Now, the other thing that we're excited about is that we can now come out and disinfect your home, guaranteeing that it will be COVID, bacteria, mold, allergen-free for up to 90 days on any surface or environment that we treat. We treat the forced air return. Any air that blows through there, the viruses and bacteria are killed. So let us know if you need us. It's a free assessment. Again, James Armendariz, Green Home Solutions, True Enviro. Bob will get you my contact information. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day and enjoy your weekend.
Okay, thank you, James. And I just put his contact information in the chat box. And then American Home Shield, and I know Todd's on, and Todd does the NHD aspect of the business. And I know he's been in the industry a long time. So Todd, take it away.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Nicholas. Thank you guys for having me here today. Yeah, like Bob mentioned, I have been in this industry longer than I'd like to admit. It's been about 19 years now. Most recently, I was with GeoAssurance NHDs, and I came into your office several times with Ralph and Annette and talked about NHD reports with them. And then after they sold the company, shortly after that, I joined American Home Shield, and it's been a great fit so far. The reason I joined American Home Shield is because they have a unique product that has a Know Your Neighborhood section that no other disclosure company is doing. So it gives you information on electric car charging stations, schools, parks, healthcare facilities, things like that. So it's really unique. You could use it as a selling tool. And also just their financial stability and just a great company overall. So it's a great fit for me. We offer a auto order program. If you try our report and you like it, we could automatically send you guys reports on all your new listings. So that makes it really simple. You don't have to worry about ordering reports on individual transactions. Our NHD and tax report's only $79.95. With the environmental report, it's $99.95. So great service. You can go to order@shieldnhd.com or email me, call or text me. I'll leave my information in the chat. And I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Todd. Also American Home Shield, obviously home warranty now, is Pamela. And Pamela and I have known each other for a very long time, longer than we'll admit. So take it away.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Nicholas. It is just a pleasure, as always, to be here to support you, Bob, and Coldwell Banker, of course. I am your account manager. I am new to your territory, but I have been in the business for maybe 25 years or so, a really long time. So it's lovely to meet you all virtually. I can't wait to meet you in person. Every time I sponsor one of Bob's seminars, I always ask him if he can give me a couple of hours to talk about my company. He always says no, so lucky for you, I only have about a minute left. American Home Shield is celebrating its 50th anniversary next year. We started the home warranty business, and we've been an industry leader with coverage and service each and every year since then. A couple of things I want you to remember for the home warranty. I want you to think about right now, of course, with the rains coming, hopefully, our roof coverage is the best in the market. We have a $5,000 aggregate limit for the roof coverage and 2 free home inspections during that time and maintenance visits. Our rekey for your home, for your buyers is exceptional. They can use it any amount of time, unlimited times. We have a fall tune-up special that goes till the end of December with a 14-point check by our technicians to come in and check on the furnace for the winter. We have now a smart home service for installations and things to do with smart homes, from doorbells to TVs. Don't forget about our seller coverage. It's exceptional. All you listing agents need to absolutely use seller coverage and listing coverage on every property that you list. I have a lot of cool buyer and seller packets for you and marketing materials, sold signs, and I have some more of those great masks for you that Nicholas has. I just have these wonderful things for you. And bottom line is I'm here for you, and I'm here to provide you exceptional service, and I'm your one-stop shop. Whatever you need with home warranty, I'm here for you. I'm going to put my information on chat too. So we just need to get together and connect. And I look forward to meeting all of you. I thank you so much for your time and listening to me. Thank you all. Bye now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice seeing you again. Okay, let's move along, and got about a half hour, so I'll do this rapid fire. Here's a good bit of advice that doesn't really get talked about too much, so I decided to do a little segment on it. A very good idea to make sure you are never doing the Avid in the presence of the home inspector, preferably from Elite, that's actually they're obviously doing the home inspection. Maybe you're tagging along or you're just in the house at the same time. It's really almost beyond important to make sure that your Avid has an earlier date than the home inspection report. That proves that you didn't do it at the same time. And one of the reasons why is because home inspectors have a very different standard of care. It's much higher, it's much more difficult, or it's much more inclusive. You know, they're in the attic. If there's a crawl space, not a lot of them in California, but there's some, they'll go under that. You probably don't, and probably don't have any temptation to. They're on the roof if it's climbable, under the sinks. They're doing a lot of things we don't. They also sometimes move throw rugs out of the way, or like a picture on the wall, like in this example. Let's say, let me just do a time thing here. Let's see, today's Thursday morning. Let's say you have an appointment mid-afternoon today. You're representing the buyers and the deal comes together. So now there's a contract. That's great. And you need to get out there to do your Avid. On the listing side, you can do it anytime you want. Always the sooner the better. In a brisk market, there's usually not much time involved, but slow market, brisk market, hot market, on the listing side, may I ask you, always do your Avid at your absolute soonest opportunity. That's a big thing in court. They want to look at your calendar. They want to know when the listing was taken, but let's go to the buyer's side. So by contract this afternoon, buyers are on top of this. They call it Elite, and they have an inspection set up Wednesday, next week, the day before Thanksgiving. So you want to get out, do everything you can to get out there Friday, Saturday, Monday, whatever. There's a temptation to say 2 birds, 1 stone. I got to be out there anyway with my buyers. I'll do it at the same time. That's very, very bad idea. So like, look at this picture here. I'm out there tomorrow. I'm able to do that because I have a contract now. I'm representing the buyers. I want to get out there quickly. Nothing really here to disclose. I'm not going to move the bed out of the way. And if there was a throw rug, I'm not going to move that. And I'm definitely not going to look behind that painting of flowers. Let's say I did. And behind that painting is something like this. Well, doesn't look too good. Definitely a disclosure issue. I would guess it's probably mold, although I wouldn't disclose that. But I can't see it. And I have no liability because as a real estate licensee in California, I don't move paintings and pictures off of walls. It's not something I'm supposed to do. But home inspectors do that sometimes and often. So if I'm doing my Avid at the same time as a home inspector, and I'm in the room at the same time, and he's like moving that painting out of the way, and he sees that, let me just back up, sees that condition, well, I see it too. And my whole liability dynamic changes. Now, let's say I'm doing my inspection, Avid inspection at the same time as a home inspector, but I'm not in that room. Let me tell you, if it's a like $800,000 lawsuit, which is not unusual, I can almost guarantee you somebody in the enemy camp will say, I saw the real estate agent in the room at the same time. And you don't want that. That will not happen if you have an earlier date on your Avid than the home inspection report date. So always complete the Avid prior to the home inspection. Do not delay the visual inspection because of pending repairs. Not a lot of repairs being done in this market now because people want to grab the house and, close escrow, get it off the market. But when it slows down and sellers are more into negotiating repairs to get the deal, you still want to do your Avid immediately when you have the buyers. Immediately. Don't worry about the repairs. They can be handled separately from the Avid if there are new disclosures that need to be made. You just want that Avid done early. And then when there is a home inspection and you're representing the buyers, if there is any way earthly possible to be there with them, mainly they being there, but hopefully you're there too. Very few buyers who actually attend a home inspection sue. This entire 90% of lawsuit dynamic we have, all of those lawsuits are brought by buyers. So it's a really big deal if you can decrease the chance of that, and you can greatly decrease it, or it is greatly decreased when the buyers are personally there. Very few buyers present at inspections ever sue. It's the ones that don't show up. So there's my advice on never completing the avid during the home inspection. The pack rat room, you're doing your visual inspection and you open the door, you come across this room and you go, oh, wow, this, a lot of stuff in the way. Well, if you watch the termite guys, the home inspection guys, you can, set your watch by how fast they are going to disclaim that room. We generally don't do that, but we don't want to be responsible for something like this when we're there, it looks like this. And you will be responsible for it unless you disclaim the room. Now, another picture, this may suit what I'm talking about too. I've seen kitchens a lot worse than that, but anything like that. So I have something in the notes. These are the words that I've got, but come up with something else. You may already be doing it. You got to disclaim the area. It's usually the garage, by the way, because that's where people store stuff. Extensive personal belongings, preventative visual inspection. I'll tell you a real life example. Now, these two photos are of the same room. They are stock photos, but they're almost identical. The room is almost identical to in the Bay Area or Silicon Valley, I guess, Cupertino. I have a friend who's an agent, and he went through this. He had represented the buyers. He got a call from them about almost 2 months after they had moved in, and they, Mr. Buyer said, "Hey, we're, want to let you know we are talking to an attorney. Why? What's going on?" Well, we just think the family room floor is just a little bit off kilter, a little bit sloped. And the agent said, "Well, let me stop by. I'm like 5 minutes away." So he stopped in, and he told me privately, the agent said, "Bob, I walked in the room and I could immediately tell this floor is a little bit off. There's something wrong here. And how did I miss that?" Well, he had forgotten. By the way, the sellers, Mr. Seller, had a marble. I don't know where you get a marble, but he had one. And he put it on the floor and it just rolled right to the corner. Just let go and there it went. Well, when the agent was there, it looked like it did on the left. Now, the reason why he didn't remember that was because, well, he's in our business. He's looked at 2,000 rooms since he was there. He just couldn't remember it. Well, fortunately, when he got to his office and looked at the Avid, now I have this really big so we can all see it. And he didn't have the exact same wording, but for the family room, he did disclaim it. It was something like, there are too many belongings in the way for me to do an adequate visual inspection of this room, whatever, but same essence. Kept out of the lawsuit, 6-figure lawsuit. It wasn't it was like 120 grand, still a lot of money. They had to jackhammer up the floor and do the foundation to level it and all that. Agent never in the lawsuit, which is like a miracle these days, because he had disclaimed it and they had no recourse against him. So it can really help you a lot. I don't talk about advertising too much because there's not a litigation. So let me spend like 2 or 3 minutes on it. There are some things that are good to avoid. When you're putting bullet points together in an advertisement, it could be a hard copy flyer, something on your website. It could be, in the cloud, wherever it is. We don't want to use words like totally when we use words like remodeled. So we just substitute them. This is so easy to fix in advance because we don't get sued over them. Beautiful, wonderful, delightful, amazing, and all that. So thumbs down, big time, and I'll just complete them for you. Totally remodeled, completely refurbished, fully renovated, never, 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 never in advertising. I can tell you from, well, not only besides Gov, talking about this more, I think, than anybody in California, but being in lots of courtrooms, you cannot totally remodel, or nobody can totally remodel a bathroom sink. It cannot be done in the courtroom world, probably in reality. So you don't want to fight the battle. Don't fight it by using other words in advance in the advertisement, beautiful, wonderful, whatever I've got here, and just add to them. It just doesn't fall back on you. Now, one more thing, the word new. 10-year-old home, 12-year-old home, original owners, up on the market now. And 2 months ago, their dishwasher bit the dust, so they went to Home Depot or wherever you buy dishwashers. They bought one, it's installed. When I was doing live presentations, which I did for 31 years, just before the pandemic, I'd ask like a group of 100 agents, 2-month-old dishwasher, is it new? Only about half of them would say yes. The other half said no. I said, is it brand new? More discussion on it. Do we really know the difference? And can you define it in court between new and brand new? If you can't, then don't use the words, not good to use them at all anyway. There is a word that works a lot better if you're looking for one. I have never seen any litigation on it. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I've never seen it before in 3 decades. I don't think anybody really knows what the word means, but when I asked that same 100 agent group, 2-month-old dishwasher, is it a newer dishwasher? Like everybody says yes. So when you have virtual unanimity on something, there's really little chance of being sued. Okay, off of the advertising, back into disclosure. Let's say Elite goes out there and does a inspection of the property, and they find something on the roof that is of concern, or at least they point it out, and the buyers are freaking out about it. So the buyer's agent calls you, you have the listing, calls you up and says, what happened here? You talk to your sellers, get the story, and maybe you email back the buyer's agent. Well, the roof leak was repaired a year ago. The sellers will provide the contractor's receipt. This is normal language. It is very litigious language, though. I don't know if the roof really leaked. I don't know if it was really repaired. There may have been work done. I don't know if that was effective work. I don't know if it was a year ago. I have no idea who did the work, if they were qualified and all that. The magic solution, back to high school English class, quotation marks. Maybe that's junior high school English class, I don't know. You just have to put whatever your sellers have stated within quotation marks. Now, what you see here is much better than what you saw earlier. I've talked to my sellers, maybe by email, however, and this is what they've said verbatim. But I distinguish what I say in white here, the seller states, whatever. Everything you see in yellow isn't for me. I didn't live in the home. I don't want to be responsible for the story of what happened, a year ago. I want my sellers to, they're the ones that know, and I want them to have the responsibility because they're the ones that live there. They're the seller. So I want to not only distinguish who said what, but I want to distinguish who's going to have the liability on this. So let me just back up here. Anyway, so you see that, I'll have something in the notes about it. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Now, this is a controversial issue. So I always like to say, when you hear advice from me, make sure that you check with company policy, obviously, and go with that. But this is, I think, pretty generally adhered to or observed. And the answer to should you disclose wear and tear items at a property, especially when you can't find anything to say, it's like in pristine condition, you want to say something in your visual inspection. Things like paint or wallpaper, minor issues, scuff marks, some carpet issues, are they within the realm of disclosure? And in my opinion, the answer is no. Usually there's no disclosure for these observations, and here's why. Once you start disclosing wear and tear issues, you've opened up a new category. It's not a material issue. It doesn't affect the value or desirability of the property. It's minor, and it doesn't. If you have a $1.2 million property for sale, and there's a scuff mark and some torn wallpaper, that doesn't change the price at all. It doesn't affect the value or desirability of the deal or the property. So what happens is when we do the wear and tear stuff, we have too much stuff in the Avid. It gets clogged up with all that. And then buyers can't really distinguish between the material things and the wear and tear stuff. It's kind of like coming up to this traffic signal in an intersection. You're just not sure what to do. That is a real traffic signal, by the way. Don't ask me to explain it. So you don't want to have all that stuff in the Avid. So one thing that comes up is you're doing your AVI on this topic or subtopic. You're doing your Avid, and you see if you something. Let's just mention one thing for sake of delivery here. That's really not covered in the Avid, but has something to do with the physical aspect of the home. So you're looking around and you notice, let's say you have absentee buyers. I'm not absent, they're out-of-state buyers. And it's this, whatever, for whatever reason, it's a 6-week escrow. And in that time, the lawns just died. You know, it was okay when the buyers looked at it, and it's just not okay now. And you're thinking, I really want to let them know, but it's, you know, if you look at the Avid, I won't go into it now. You can look at this, you know, in your free time, if you have free time. On the first page of the Avid, there's a list of things. There's a general disclaimer about exterior things. You can look at that later. And so the lawn isn't really something we'd usually mention, but you still want to communicate it to the buyer so they don't move in and say, why didn't you tell me this? And this is, we checked with a gardener, and this is going to cost us, you know, $3,000 to get right or whatever. Well, here's a way to do it. Not the only way, but a way. You drive by the property, you go to the property, and you see that the lawns died, and it's a big yard. So you send an email to the listing agent asking, like, well, what's happening with are the sprinklers not working? What's going on? And you copy in your client, who's the buyer. So they're aware of it. They're getting information about it. It's not a surprise to them, but it's not inside of the Avid because it's not an Avid issue. So that's a way to do it. I'll have something about that in the notes as well. Now let me talk about an investor client. You may have one or you may have a lot. That may be your specialty. Most investor clients that are just flipping homes, they often don't actually live in the house. They never live in the property. So that means they know very little about it usually. And that means they're not going to be providing the disclosures that a seller would provide that had lived there for, 15 years or something. And when there's a lesser amount of disclosure, it puts you in peril. So we've got to do something about this. So keep in mind that investor clients are regular clients. It's not like they're exempt. It's not like my great-great-grandfather finally died and I'm a trustee and I'm exempt from the TDS and all these other things. I'm just, investor client, I'm just a regular seller. And I have the same disclosures as any other seller that's lived in the home for years, but I don't really know much about it. So what happens is buyers move in. I won't say it happens every time by any means, but it happens a lot. The buyers move in and they have problems and they sue. And it's a bench trial, meaning no jury, just the judge and that's it. Kind of like Judge Judy, just the judge. And let's say you'll call a Mr. Investor client is on the stand and the judge is kind of reprimanding him saying, sir, you own this property very briefly, but you did some renovation. But the buyers are in now. They've got some flooring issues. They have some roof issues. There's evidence of mold. They got different things going on. Why didn't you tell them anything about this? And this next picture is a stock photo, but it's very realistic. Mr. Investor client or whoever is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I never actually lived there. So I didn't know about these things." And more often than not, at least here in California, the judge is going to say, "I don't care if you live there or not. These people just plunked down, $850 for this place or whatever." They have a right to know what's wrong with it, not just from the buyer's home inspector, but from you. You own the property. So the attorney for the investor client starts to freak out a little bit. I got to move the liability to somebody else, and it's often to you. So some wording I have in the notes that you may want to think about, make sure it's okay there. You know, here in California, here in Southern California, we're in the habit or in the practice. It's already in the fine print of the RPA. It's in the Avid, but we usually make a separate request or suggestion to our buyers, just the buyers. And that's, you ought to have the home professionally inspected. Make sure you don't say get a licensed home inspector. As already mentioned by Michael with Elite, there are no licensed home inspectors in California. We do not license it here in our state. I think 28, 29 states do. We're not one of them. So but we don't do it for our sellers, and that's, you can debate that. But when you have a seller who's an investor or an absentee owner, they own a property in Seal Beach, and they've got one in Torrance, and they got one in Huntington, wherever. But they live in Denver. They don't even live in Southern California, and they're getting rid of their properties. They're the same category. So it's a good idea on the listing side, something like this. Agents strongly suggest the sellers obtain a professional home inspection report as an additional or substituted disclosure to the buyers. And this is what they do with it. Sellers spend usually $300 to $500 in that realm. And on page 1 of the TDS, see it right there. I'm really low tech with my graphics, but you can probably see it with the arrow. This is that the seller's filling this out. Additional inspection reports or disclosures, and they write in there something about, well, since Elite is here, see Elite inspection report number, whatever, as an additional disclosure. And then the buyers are going to get more information from that investor seller than they would have received from somebody that had lived in the home for 20 years, because home inspection reports are just more, they've got more detail than most sellers are going to actually disclose. So it's a really, really good thing to protect you. Your attorney could say something like, I can't put words in their mouth. Yeah, the client, the seller didn't live in the property. My agent, maybe you, knew that and made this recommendation. Apparently they didn't follow through with it, or maybe they did, but if they didn't, but my agent, again, you perhaps, made that suggestion. So that can really save the day for you. Before I get on to the next thing, let me just look at the chat room here. Yeah, Avid's mandatory. Your company, yes, it is with most companies, over 95%. Is Todd related to somebody? You'll have to ask Todd. I've never gotten a question like that. That's a good one. Do listing agents need to be at the home? Usually, I've never seen a particular need for them to be there, especially with the COVID thing, probably not. But they usually overwhelmingly are not. Should you say the property is furnished at the time of no? Well, I'll touch on the stage thing if I have time, but on the furnished, no. And the reason why you don't have to mention the home was furnished at the time of inspection is because it's easily proven that it was. You look at the date of the home inspection or the date of the Avid, and they'll be able to establish when the seller's moving ban showed up, when the seller's vacated. And so I've never seen it debated because the dates are easy to find. On the stage thing, you may want to put in the Avid, and I'll try to get to it. In fact, I'll skip over to it in a minute, that you want to say that the home was staged at the time of inspection. So let me just flip over to that real quick. See if I can find it here. Sorry, don't look at the screen. You're going to get dizzy. Yeah, let me go back to what I was going to get into, because I've got 18 hours of material here on this. So let me talk about building permits. But before I do that, on the staging thing, saying that the home is staged, there's no place on the Avid to really put it. But on page 3 of the Avid, there is a little statement that says items not already mentioned or something. The mistake that some agents make is they put items in there like neighbor hearsay or a square footage concern that has nothing to do with the Avid. So whatever you put in that spot has to have something to do with what an Avid is for. And saying the home was professionally staged at the time of my inspection could go there. It's on page 3. It's, other things not mentioned or whatever. You'll see that. The reason why is because everybody knows by dates that the home's vacant, but it really isn't vacant. A staging company has come in, and some of them are minimalist and some of them go over the top, and they got stuff everywhere, bric-a-brac, and you just can't see a lot of things. Not a bad idea to have that. So building permits, maybe our last thing. I'll try to squeeze something else in. I'd like to keep on time. You're involved with a transaction and you either know or you can guess something's been tacked onto this house and there's probably some building permit issues. It doesn't have to be something obvious in the house or around the house or attached to the house. The ADU phenomenon, which has gotten so popular, really makes this a more important issue. These tiny house things, they can build better, quicker, cheaper. It's just done really well now and inexpensively, relatively speaking. The sellers usually put down some kind of a little slab or something, which is a building permit issue in and of itself. And these panels are slid in the side yard, and a few hours later, you got like a guest house. And by the way, when it comes to advertising, good idea, another topic, good idea not to call this a granny flat or a bachelor pad or a mother-in-law suite. That's attaching lifestyle issues, get into the discrimination thing. It's a guest house or a tiny house or something like that. It doesn't have to be, it could be like this. It could be a man cave, or I don't know what this is, a place to hang out. So what about building? What kind of investigation do you want to do with building permits? And the answer is essentially none. If you look at, in my opinion, if you look at the Abbott on the first page, it says California law does not require the agent to inspect the following. There are 4 things mentioned. I'm just mentioning one here, but this is a verbatim quotation. Public records or permits. Also on the first page of the Abbott, you'll also in the fine print find this. By statute, agent is not obligated to pull permits or inspect public records. So 2 times on page 1 of the Abbott itself, it tells us we're not supposed to be involved in this. So I don't think you should be involved in it. Make sure you go with there are some variations in this in the industry in California, not too many. So I happen to like this terminology, make sure it's okay there. Buyers are advised to check with not the city of, but to check with the local municipality regarding building permit information. The reason why local municipality can work better is because some really small cities that are next to a really big city, the small city doesn't have the staffing to have building permit inspectors. As an example, and I don't know if this is true, but it would fit geographically. In LA, South Pasadena is a city. Obviously, Pasadena, much larger, is a city. They're right next to each other. It wouldn't be unusual for South Pasadena to not have the staffing. So all of their building permit stuff is done by the adjacent and larger city of Pasadena. So if an agent's doing a deal in South Pasadena, they do not want to direct the buyers to go to that city hall. It's the wrong place. So local municipality puts the burden where it belongs. That's on the buyers to figure out where they need to go to get the information. And I personally know 3 agents, lots more than that out there that have had this, but I happen to know 3 of them where the only thing they have done, they are representing the buyers. The buyers are moving from Detroit or whatever, and they're hanging out at the local Holiday Inn in Long Beach or wherever, and waiting for escrow to close. And they call up their agent and say, we really don't have a lot to do here. We don't even have our car, it's being shipped out. We know you can't have anything to do with building permit stuff. So it's good that they know that. But we do want to we know there's going to be some issues. We want to kind of get ready for it. Could you just pick us up in your car, 10:30 in the morning, take us to City Hall. You can sit in your car, don't even get out. We'll do the building permit research, and then we can go out to lunch or something, assuming you can find a restaurant that's open now. Not a good idea. 3 agents I know that are that are or have been in litigation just for giving them a ride from the hotel, staying in their car in the parking lot. They're now part of the building permit dynamic, and it's a good idea to stay out of it. So let me do one more thing. I might have covered this before, but in case you haven't heard me before, I'll do this really fast. Usually takes 5 minutes, but I'll do it quicker because it's a big deal. Buyers have moved, especially a hot market, buyers move in, they make a quick decision. They may not look around the area that much. They just want that property. And then a month or two later, after they're in the property, they call up their agent and say, you know, we really like the house. Thanks a lot. You did a great job. We were able to get the house we wanted. But now that we live here, we realize that something's nearby the house that we didn't even notice. And we really think, and our attorney really think you want to have told us about it. So something that's near a home that affects the lifestyle or whatever of the property of living there, the quality of life, if you will, does need to be disclosed. So as an example, you have buyers that are interested in this second floor center condo. They've been there 4 times. They're out on the balcony. They see the train going by. Hard to miss the train tracks. There still needs to be a disclosure, because if they sue you 7 months from now, what you said, what they said is up for grabs. So you want to have it clear in writing. So I'll do this fast. A golf course, Fairway Homes. One of your farm areas, you've done transactions here, you know people that live here, and you have a new deal representing the buyers this time, right on the fairway. Well, it's pretty hard to miss the golf course, but you do need to make a disclosure about it. So you know that errant golf balls are an issue. So you start out rough, this is rough draft for your buyers, right on the green there, right on the fairway. 1 or 2 golf balls a week at the house, because you've been told that many times, 1 or 2 or 3, it's kind of common knowledge. Well, not a good disclosure. We got to get rid of the frequency, the number of balls. I don't want to have a conversation with them telling me a month from now, you said 1 or 2 balls, it's like 8 balls. I don't want to have that. So I don't write it that way. I have golf balls occasionally at the house. That's better. I don't really need to have the word occasionally there, so I omit that. I'm almost done. Golf balls hit the house, much better than when we started. And this only took 20 seconds. It's a lot better. They might be hitting the nice new BMW in the driveway, not just the house. So I finish it off with golf balls hit the property. Now here's the good and the bad. There's a lot more bad than good. I'm never going to get sued, or hopefully, over golf balls hitting the property. They even like the golf balls. Hey, they're free golf balls. We love them. But now I can be sued for all kinds of things that occur to somebody that lives near a golf course. They call me up and they say, well, we just retired or whatever. We can finally sleep in. And I might go, by the way, I might go like a minute over time here. I'll do it fast. 5 o'clock in the morning, the lawnmower guys, tractor guys start up. We can't sleep in. It's loud. It's noise. Well, in real life, you'd say you live next door to a golf course, but you can't do that in court. You didn't tell them that. And you didn't tell them about the chemical fertilizer, the pesticide, the insecticide. And they will say in court, very dramatically, a cloud of toxic poison, when they do this, floats through the neighborhood. We get sick. Our kids get sick. You never told us that. You never told us about the sprinklers and the mess, and we have to hire somebody to clean our windows. So for your consideration as we wrap up here, when you have something that's going to affect the quality of life at the property, tell them what's there. Do not tell them what might bother them about what's there. Golf courses adjacent to property. If you want to make a list of all the things that can happen to you, so to speak, when you live that close, you will never make the list. You'll never complete the list. There's too many things. Some other examples. When I was traveling, I forget where I was, looks like a La Quinta hotel. Home right next to a hotel. Well, things happen to you when they have 24-hour check-ins or something. They host a beer barbecue bash in the parking lot. I don't know. Just let them know the property is adjacent to a hotel. And please don't get concerned about, is it near a hotel? Is it adjacent to a hotel? close to it? It never makes a difference. Don't just tell them what's there. And then two more. I'll just do this one and then I'll skip out. If I asked you what's behind that wall, you'd probably say a freeway. And it is. It's I-5, Norwalk, Downey, somewhere around there, but could it be anywhere? So in the live presentations, I'd ask everybody, well, what would you say? What would you disclose for this home right up against the freeway? Well, I mentioned the freeway, but I mentioned the wall is there. It's kind of high and it mitigates. How much money are you making on the wall? Nothing. It's not part of the subject property. It's state owned or something, county owned. It's not part of the transaction. So I'm not going to mention the wall. And I don't want to mention anything about it because whatever I say is going to be attacked. So I just let them know the property is adjacent to a freeway. And then everything that happens to you when you are that close to a freeway is in that disclosure. And I'll never make the list long enough, so I don't want to start the list. So out of time, just a final shout out to my sponsors, Pam, American Home Shield. All their information is in the chat room. Todd with American Home Shield for NHD reports. James, your go-to mold guy to keep the deal going. And then Michael with the Elite Group. And thank you all for being here. And I will say goodbye. And I think that, again, this has been recorded, so you'll be able to access it anytime you want. Have a great weekend coming up, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Okay, bye. Nick.
Thank you.